Thank you for tuning in to the Black Money Tree Podcast, hosted by entrepreneur, investor, and philanthropist Jerome D. Love. We are committed to teaching you how to build wealth so that you can build your community. At the Black Money Tree, our goal is to empower wealth creation and create economic self-sufficiency in order to empower generations to come. Society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never enjoy. Season 1 is powered by Wells Fargo Bank. Welcome to the Black Money Tree Podcast.
So, I read a report by the National Association of Realtors, and they talked about a concept called social disorganization. And they basically said that crime, suicide, a lot of the teenage pregnancy, drug usage, all of these were byproducts of social disorganization. And the root of it was poverty. And they had a direct link to home ownership and the decrease in a lot of those statistics. And one of the things that I read another study where it talked about the success of being, the chances of being a success as an entrepreneur increase exponentially if you own your own home. So I'll tell my personal testimony. I tell people I started the Black Expo in 2004. 2005, I was over $100,000 in debt. 2006, we had a decent expo, but we paid all our bills, so I was still $100,000 in debt. 2007, we made our first little piece of change, so we dug out the debt, and it wasn't until the next year that I actually got my first check. Some people ask, how did you survive if you were $100,000 in debt and you weren't making any money? And my answer is real estate. I bought the first thing that I did when I moved to Houston was bought a house. I bought a house in the hood. Wasn't nothing fancy, wasn't nothing to brag about, but it was $871 a month. I had two roommates. They were paying me $350 a month, and they paid a third of the bill. So I had to come up with $171 a month. That was it. So all of those years when I was building my business, I wasn't making money. The only way I was able to survive is I virtually had no living expense. So you got to plan, if you're going to be a success in anything. And for me, I knew that it was going to take some time of investing to build my business. So that was part of my plan. I got literally, I promise you this, Ron, I'm telling you the truth. I got married. My wife moved in and we had a kid and we still had a roommate in that house. I needed money coming in. So, but
hey,
now,
I'm not mad, man. That's residual income, basically, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
so,
that's
now,
go ahead.
Now, no, I was gonna say now I've moved on, and a part of that story was too. I bought my first rent house, I think in 2002. Bubble was around 2001. Lost a bunch of properties. Now I've kind of built up my real estate portfolio, and personally, I advise anyone to invest in real estate. I think it's the best investment you can have. But of course, I'm biased. Tell me what you tell people when they're talking about investments, whether they want to go to Bitcoin and stock market or real estate. Why do you suggest real estate?
I suggest real estate because it's the only thing that they're not making any more of. Like, yes, they are trying to get to Mars and Venus and all these other places in the universe. But as far as Earth is concerned, what we got is what we got, right? So it's always going to appreciate in value. And, there's circles to life, of course. It'll go up and it'll go down. But it's like a circle that just keeps getting larger and larger and larger. So if you buy real estate correctly, you'll be able to weather the storm of things kind of coming down to a certain extent before it rises up above where it was when you initially purchased it. And the equity in it, it's really not the only way, because you're an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, so people create wealth through starting businesses or what have you. But when you look at the averages, right, probably close to 80% of the people that are creating generational wealth for themselves do it through real estate, right? The equity in the home, owning something now versus 10 years from now, right? And and paying on time and all of these different things, right? Something that may be 100,000 today is worth 500,000 10 years from now, especially the way things are skyrocketing in recent times. Goodness gracious, it's ridiculous. So it's the thing that helps with starting those businesses, the equity in a home, right? It's the thing that helps with putting your kids to college, through college or what have you, the equity in a home, right? It just helps so much. Like you said, just the inspiration that it provides for people that are growing up in that house, the children and all of the above. Like, it just, the self-esteem and so many other factors come into play, like you're saying, crime rate and just, peace of mind and all these different things that we're all searching for come through home ownership as well.
So you touched on something. Let's go back to it. You talked about the current market. Here, the market is crazy. I built 2 homes in 2019. I was going to build about 12 homes similar to that this past March. And when I
Mm-hmm.
sent in my bid to my lumber company, I thought it was a mistake. They said, where I spent $13,000 for the lumber, it was now close to $30,000. And I said,
Yes.
hey, there's a mistake here. You need to go back and look at this. And he said, no. The market is crazy right now. So, and
Yes.
what I found is the house prices are increasing just like the supplies and products. What are you advising a person that wants to buy a home? But also, what are you advising the people that want to sell their homes? Because when I saw what was going on, I told my wife, hey, we about to sell our house, but
Yeah. The thing
kids
is when you, right. I'm sorry, Jerome. The thing is, when you sell your house, right? Let's say you have 5,000 square foot of space, you got this amazing yard, whatever, right? You sell your house. When it's time to go get something similar, you got to pay what, 25% more, 30% more. So if you're looking to like kind of move sideways, like, okay, I want to sell this, I want to pull equity and profit out of this, I'm going to have to downsize at the end of the day, because home prices are ridiculous right now. And I say this, during the pandemic, it was wild. I was stressing a little bit, thinking, yo, this is a crazy time. No homes are going to be sold, all of the above, right? And the agents under my company, they were actually doing more deals through the pandemic than they had done almost in the previous 2 years. So it was just crazy, the appreciation. And then you have a client and you're trying to present the best deal possible, right? Home is, let's say, a $300,000 home. You have to go 10% damn near over the asking price to win the bid, and the bid is against 7, 8, 10 other people that are maybe willing to go 15% over asking price. So it's crazy, the law of supply and demand, right? There's not enough homes out there for the population that's increasing ridiculously, right? So I think at some point maybe those demands are met, but you figure that's still another couple years off or so before it starts catching up. So I think home prices are going to continue to escalate, and overall they're going to continue to escalate over time as they have since the beginning of time.
So let's go back a little bit. Let's talk. People they know you as from Ron DeVoe, New Edition. You talked about buying that first house for 200 grand, sold it 3 years later, 400 grand, bought another one, more hit singles. People would just assume you're sitting on stacks of cash, but there have been interviews where we've heard, I believe you in particular and many of your other group members hit some hard times, filed for bankruptcy and things of that nature. What led you from up here to filing for bankruptcy, and what different choices would you make today if you could go back, turn back the hands of time?
It's not having the blueprint for success when it comes to finance. And at 13 years of age, $500, right? And then you start going on the road, driving up to New York City on the weekends, right? By the time Candy Girl comes out in 83, and now you're beginning to receive per diem, right? And that's $35 per day. So I'm out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? So what? That's $105, whatever that is. And I got $105 in my pocket. I'm staying in hotels. I'm able to call down to room service and order shrimp cocktail, right? Um, so it's the spontaneity, of spending money was just, injected into us right there. And for me, I didn't think some of the fundamental things that I should have been thinking until later on, right? You said it earlier in the interview that sometimes you feel like money is gonna continue to come, right? And I think it was that mentality too. From 83 and even before that in Boston, like we were the hugest group in Boston, right? And then we were thrust on a national stage. And from 83 all the way until the point where I had to file for bankruptcy, which was 98, right? It's almost continuous money coming in, right? We had little choppy, segments of our career, but continuous money. So I still hadn't thought about, what I needed to do with budgeting and being resourceful and making sure that I had a cutoff point when it comes to the money that's coming in. So I think it's just all one of those things that people have to go through at the end of the day. I know people that were very strict on what they were supposed to spend and all of the above and didn't end up filing for bankruptcy, but they were just as they were in almost the same place. It was two steps away from doing the same thing. So I think it's all a learning experience, man. It's just one of those things that we don't get. We don't talk about these things around the dinner table, right? Because we're faced with so many other challenges as Black people in America, right? And we didn't see that before us. So it's learning on your own and getting to that point where you're still blessed enough to be able to still make money in the way that I have throughout my career. And I'm thankful to God for that. But you have to start doing things different because you never know, man. It can all be taken from you at any point and have you set yourself up correctly, right? With what you made up until that point.
So part of the reason I asked that question, because I'm a motivational speaker as well, and I always say people see the product, but they don't know the process. They just see you on the
Hmm.
stage with the suit, and they just assume you made it. They don't know what it took to get you there. So I think that kind of brings you down to everybody else's level where they can say, "Man, wow, I'm just
Hmm.
like that." So, what are the one or two tips that you would give to that individual that's out there that's struggling financially, trying to get out of that rat race? What would you say in terms of getting out of that rat race in terms of starting to build wealth? What would you say to them?
Yes, yes, yes. Budget, budget, right? You have to know, okay, if you got $100 coming in, 25% of that, depending on what bracket you're in. But if it's $100, you're in the 25% bracket, is going to Uncle Sam. Send that over to the escrow account, whatever it is, so you don't have those challenges. But that all still falls in line with the budget. Um, Pay yourself first, even damn near before you pay Uncle Sam, right? Put 10% to the side and then pay Uncle Sam his 25%, right? That's what they say. And then understand what your bills are. If your bills are the rest of another 40% and you got 25% to play with, there's a contingency that you put in place to play around with. I'm going to the movies, I'm going to dinner, I'm going to take a flight, I'm going on vacation. Like all of those things are pretty much kind of set in stone. So, these are my bills. This is Uncle Sam. This is what I'm putting to the side so I can elevate and maybe get to the point where I can purchase again, or maybe I'm sitting in the house, but I'm trying to figure out how to buy something bigger because my family's growing. It starts with budgeting, is number one. And that was a hard thing for me because I was such a spontaneous buyer. And I am to this day, but I have a good person in place right now, my wife and I, that cracks the whip on us. And she doesn't allow us to stretch too far to the left because, it's in my DNA. Yo, I'm about to buy another pair of AirPods because I just lost mine on the plane. No, you got to wait until next month before you get those AirPods, buddy. Yeah. It's just simple things like that, right? That we have to kind of have kind of restraint over. And then once you begin to start that and knowing how much money you can put to the side, now it's okay, what am I doing with that money? I think saving, this whole concept of saving is overrated, right? Like we shouldn't be saving. We should be putting our money towards investing, right? Like allowing it to grow. Let's not take 10% or 20% and sit it over here in a bank that's taking fees from you, right? Let's put it in an entity where it's growing at the end of the day. So, yeah, those two things are off the top of my mind.
See, I like what you said. I tell people all the time, my houses are my bank accounts, because so when I get money, let me back it back. So with Black Expo, I told you kind of the rocky road we went on. When we first started making money, I would get one check a year a lot of times. Sometimes that check might be 30,000, 40,000. That may seem like a lot of money, but when you ain't made no money the whole year, that'll go real quick. And
Right.
every year when I started getting paid, I would get that check. And when I didn't have a plan for it or anything to do with it, it seemed like I was more financially strapped than when I started investing. I would take that 30,000, buy a house, remodel it. And now I would make $900 a month or $1,000 a month. And I told people,
Right.
I say, what bank account do you know that will pay you $1,000 a month? So every house that I own is a bank account. I'm just depositing my money in it, but it's paying me every month and it's growing in value. So I love it, man. I
Yes.
love it.
Right.
That's
And
wonderful.
you get the tax breaks
Yep.
and all of the other things that come with it. That's one thing that the wealthiest take advantage of, right? Setting up businesses and putting their money in places where it's protected, right? It's protected from the government. It's protected from people that may want to sue them in the form of trust and all of these other things. And we just don't have those conversations as much as we need to. So I'm excited about what we're doing right now and the Black Expo and everything you're doing that way. And I'm looking forward to this coming, man. I know we've been doing this COVID thing for a good amount of time, but hopefully it'll begin to open back up where we can touch down that way and help you continue in building your brand as we do the same.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, there you have it. Ron, since you're in real estate, give me just one or two tips to that person that doesn't own a home, ready to get a home. What's the one or two steps they should take to start buying a home?
Step
Outside of
one,
calling for real estate.
outside of calling your boy, yeah. Step one is know your credits, your credit. We have partnered with a couple entities that are allowing people to use their rental history as points towards their credit, right? Which I think is another way that they've been keeping us out of home ownership. Like people have been paying their rent on time for year after year and almost decade after decade. But that's not a plus strap. That's not a plus, right? That's not a plus column thing. So it's crazy some of the traps that they sit us in, and we can talk about that for years. But your credit really is number one because that's the barometer for success in home ownership. You have to get money, and these lenders are going to look at your credit and your history and your ability to be a solid person that's paying, every month. So credit is definitely number one. And a lot of the things that we talked about after that, just budgeting, being able to get to the point where you can sit money to the side because you have to have earnest money to go against the fact that you're serious about buying this house. And where home prices are now, that could be, depending on where you live, $1,500. It could be thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, right? And then down payments to the side. So credit, number one, start budgeting and figuring out how you put money to the side and get to that point where you have everything in place that will allow you to get over that hump and begin the process of creating generational wealth. Your why has to be bigger than you, right? Is it the community? Is it your children? Like whatever it is, if your why is bigger than you, then you'll listen to some of the things that Jerome is giving you and the different people that he talks to about ownership and wealth and just closing the gap for us. And you'll listen to hopefully some of these things that I said as well.
So if you're going to build your wealth, you heard it right here from Ron DeVoe. You got to learn how to budget. You got to understand taxes, and you got to have a strategic plan. Those are some sound principles to wealth and wealth development. It's amazing when you hear all of these individuals from different and varying backgrounds that all tend to come to the same point. You got to make money. You got to manage the money, and then you can multiply it in investing. And real estate is one of the most solid investments that you can make. So I hope you got some great nuggets that you can use to apply in your life that will bless you and your family. Make sure you tune in every other week on the second and fourth Thursday to the Black Money Tree podcast, and follow us on Instagram, on Facebook at the Black Money Tree. Until next time, here's to you building your wealth. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Black Money Tree podcast. Don't forget to like and share this video. And if you want more content like this, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll see you next time.